Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Ophthalmology on the Go. Today we'll be discussing on how to study for the DNB theory exam. It's one of the most challenging exams that I have given, and we'll go through how I have prepared for it and all the tips that I got from my seniors and my colleagues and friends on how I prepared for my DNB theory exam. The most important and the most integral component of preparing for your theory exams is to solve the past year questions. So, if in the first or the second year, or even the later part of third year of DNB, if you have been reading up for your concept building or your understanding, then I think you should stop that at least 3 months before the exams because that is high time. You have already built up your concepts, you already know what is there in ophthalmology, what concepts are there, what diseases are there, and what structures are there, and everything. So stop before 3 months, and just before 3 months of the exams, start doing your past year DNB questions. All these DNB past year questions you will find on the NBE website, past question papers. Right? Go to the NBE website and then search for the past question papers and figure out your field of your specialty, and then you get all your papers there. You have 4 papers, right? So every year has 2 sessions and every session has 4 papers, so it's almost around 8 papers in 1 year. So aim to finish at least 5 years, last 5 years papers. After you're already done with that, then go ahead with or 5 years papers, which are, and then you figure out a complete 10-year papers you have. First priority is the last 5 years paper is a must. If you have time after that, then go and do for the past 10 years. There is no need to go beyond past 10 years exam. The pattern was different. It will not come with that. There are a lot of topic repeats, questions repeats. So make sure you keep an eye out on what is the pattern that they're following in all the 4 papers in all the sessions. So just to simplify, if you are doing the past 5 years paper, that is 2 sessions. So you have 2 sessions of 5 years, and each session has 4 papers. So that amounts to around 40 papers that you're doing for past 5 years. And I'm just um, hoping that my maths is correct here. I'm hoping that my maths is correct. And every paper has 10 questions, so that is 400 questions or 400 topics that you have to do the past 5 years questions. And make sure you start early, start at 3 months mark. And when you're solving these papers, make sure for every question you write down an answer, a proper answer, which should be there in your notes. Make sure you add diagrams there itself with that answer. Make sure you find out tables from either articles or textbooks. Make sure you draw flow charts from your own or from articles or just anywhere where it simplifies your answer. Now, why do we need diagrams, tables, and flow charts? Is because in the exam, during the exam, it will be everything will be going on so fast. You will be presented with a question. You have 10 questions to solve. Sometimes those 10 questions even have sub questions, right? So you could be solving around 20 questions in that 3 hours of time, which is a lot, and you have to be writing a lot. So if there is any way in which you can concisely show to the examiner that you know these concepts, you know these things, you know these topics, that is through diagrams, tables, and flowcharts. So these should be there in your answers, which help you to concise your answers and help the examiners to understand that you know what you have written about, right? So for every question, make sure you write the whole answer down. So for this, how I simplified is I used my iPad. I had the soft copy of the question paper in my iPad on my GoodNotes app, and in that same folder, I kept on adding the answers as well. Some I wrote, some I copied from somewhere, some I took screenshots of, but all of them that was compiled in one specific area. So just compile everything. And as you go on doing these past 5 years or 10 years papers, you will come across a lot of repeats. So there are two things that you can do with repeat questions. Either take them as revision and then just go through that question again, the same answer that you have written before for that question, just go through that and that will be your revision. Or you can just skip it and finish your 5 years a little solving your 5-year paper a little earlier, and then go on to the whole revision again. But what I personally followed was, as and when the repeat questions came, I just revised the question and answer there itself, so that I don't become lazy and don't procrastinate the whole revision later on, because doing revision, doing some repetitive activity is very boring, and a lot of us tend to procrastinate it. That is tip number 2. Tip number 4 is, in the last 4 weeks of your preparation time, make sure you start revision proper. So, what do I mean by revision proper? Is that all the 5 years papers that you have solved and compiled at one place, you have to start revising them, start by hearting those answers, start practicing those diagrams, tables, and flowcharts by heart. I would say just by heart everything, because in that exam you don't have the time to think, okay, so if the aqueous is flowing in this direction, is it going in that direction, what is happening and why it's happening. You don't have the time to think all that. You need to have everything in your mind, and everything needs to come out on that paper like cut, 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 cut these points. You don't have the time to think, and mark my words, this is something that I have learned a little the hard way, but thankfully I had done my revisions properly, so it helped. So, from my seniors, what I have heard is as many revisions as possible. Some have even gone to the extent of 6 or 7 revisions, and it depends on you personally. At least I would say do 3 or 4 revisions, because without those many revisions, you will not be able to write on the paper verbatim what you have by hearted, or what you have compiled your answers. Because if you have compiled your answers and not been able to write it in the paper, then what is the use of it, right? So make sure 3 or 4 revisions are a must, with diagrams, with flowcharts, with tables. And diagrams, make sure you color them, right? So now what the exam is about. Everybody is going to study for the exams. Everybody would have solved those past questions. But what is going to be tested in the exam, very sadly, is the time, right? Your time management skills, your writing speed, how much you're able to write in a given time, and how you have framed your answers. Not all the questions are going to be repeats. There are going to be a few questions which are going to be googly. So what matters is how you frame your answers in a way that projects to the examiner that you know the topic, you have a broad idea of the topic, and that there are a few certain important things in that topic, and that you know, and you will present it in the exam. So have a general frame of uh, thought in mind, that if a question comes on a procedure, this and this, under these headings I will write it. If a question comes on a disease, these are the broad headings that I will be writing it under. So make sure you have that outline in your mind. If it is on some surgery, make sure that you write the indications, pre-op, post-op, insight, intra-op, the complications, and make sure you have a post-it in which you have written those headings under which you will write these broad answers. So you have to have the answers by heart, because there will be no time to think. There will be no time to think this also, that my hand is paining by writing so much so fast. You have to just vomit all the answers on the questions as soon as you see the question. There is no thinking time, right? These are a few tips that I got from my friends, from my colleagues, from my seniors, and from my teachers when writing the DNB theory exams and preparing for it. So I'm hoping that this was helpful for you. If you have any more doubts, any questions, or if you find if you're solving the past year's questions, you have a doubt, then make sure you put it in the comments, and make sure you like, subscribe. Bye bye. Thank you. I hope it helped.